All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Deep End. We're actually coming to you kind of late in the evening. This is our latest recording. It's like 7 p.m. over in my neck of the woods. Ari is over on the East Coast right now. It's like 10, almost 10:15 where he's at. So it's a late one tonight. How are you doing, man? You got a good little setup over there. I think you're all charged up and ready to go for this one, huh?
I'm ready, man. I'm jet lagged a bit, but I feel like it's 3 a.m. But I'm also charged up. I'm always charged up for the deep end, man. It's just like, how can I not be?
Yeah, it is kind of fun. It's kind of weird. I'm not a night owl by any means, but I do feel a bit more warmed up, a bit more energetic recording tonight. Like after I think my brain's had time to warm up. I think that makes a big difference, and it takes my brain
Yeah,
all day to
it's like
warm
you've
up.
been through the day. We watched the market today. We have
Yeah.
some things
Well,
going on in our world.
you sir got to watch the market
Real
with a front
time.
row seat. With a front row seat. Tell
So
tell us tell
today,
us about that.
I actually was at the Nasdaq, and I was at the opening bell, which was epic. It was just such a cool experience. We were chatting a little bit as we always do before this, and then I stopped, but let me just finish with like a bang here and saying like it was awesome. I have never felt so much of a rush and just energy and this euphoric feeling when it comes to like investing than actually being at the Nasdaq and opening up, man. The market, it was just the music was going, the cameras, and right before the big countdown, it's like they tell you what camera is going to what. So it's like they were like Fox, CNBC, MSNBC, like all these cameras are going. And then all of a sudden it's like boom, music starts and everybody's cheering and clapping, and then the bell. It's one thing after the next. It's just so exciting. But yeah, front row seat there to actually open up the market. And then I had a nice little like photo shoot going on there at the Nasdaq as well. That was cool. Um, so we did some shoots outside at the Nasdaq board. The
Yeah. Like you can
outside.
see the big old vertical
Yeah,
billboard from the street, right? Yeah.
from Times Square. Yeah.
From Times Square,
And
yeah.
so that was really cool. And then man, what was awesome actually, Nasdaq has like this little area in which any company that's been listed on the Nasdaq has like little historical. I don't want to say like historical facts, but like I'll give you an example. Like Apple, one of the first Macintosh computers is on display at Nasdaq,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
so you get to like type on it and like click around. It was so
Wow.
cool, man.
So it's almost
So I
like a little
was,
museum of sorts too, huh?
yeah, yeah. So all the
Huh.
companies that have listed with them, they took a little something something from them, and they built out like this little, yeah, like museum. And
Yeah.
I thought the Macintosh computer was like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. The mouse was like a brick; it was like this big. The
Yeah.
computer itself is like this big chunky thing.
Uh-huh.
And then right next to it, obviously, they have a Mac of today, like 2025. So it's so cool to see like where we've been and how far we've come.
That seems really cool, man. So can anyone, I'm guessing not everyone can go in the Nasdaq, right? You have to be there like with a company, or you have to have a purpose to go in there, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
it's like heavy security. So actually, I think I shared this with you the other week. I wanted to go to the New York Stock Exchange as well and open up
Hmm.
yesterday at the stock exchange. I tried to connect with Paul Tuckman, the crazy guy with the white hair. Um, Unable to do that successfully. I will. That's still. I made some other connections, and I think I will actually be able to meet him and then walk the floor with him. Hopefully within time. Probably the next time I'm in New York, which could be in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So we'll see. But that's now on the list, man. Want to walk the floor with Paul and open up the New York Stock Exchange. That would be epic.
Dude, that would be really cool. I feel like I feel like whether it's the Nasdaq or the New York Stock Exchange, it's almost like a bucket list thing that an investor should try and hit. It's probably easier said than done because, like you said, you kind of have to. You can't really just waltz in there, but I'm sure that even just kind of being around the building is there's a certain energy to it, and even that, if everyone can swing it, I think is a bucket list thing. I would love to do that. I'd love to go and do that and walk up and down Wall Street and just, I don't know, just see what it's like being there. At some point I'll get
Oh,
over there. Some point.
it's cool, man. I mean, I woke up this morning. I was in New York from Sunday to today, and I'm an early morning riser as you are. So,
Yeah.
my morning routine is wake up 4:45 and then go on my run, and then I usually, I used to live in the financial district right off of Wall Street, so I know all my spots, and I would go to Pier 17. And this is what I was doing the last few days. Wake up 4:45, run over to Pier 17, watch the sunrise, and do a workout on the turf. And
Mm.
then once the workout is over, um, really catch the sunrise, because sunrise is typically around like 6:18. I think this morning it was like 6:20, whatever. And then I get a cup of coffee, and I walk back. I walk back to the hotel. And man, it's just like, oh, so included in that, because you said you love to go to Wall Street, right? So Nasdaq is actually in Times Square. New York,
Mm.
the stock exchange is in the more closer to Wall Street. The
Okay.
stock exchange is in the financial district. So
Okay.
this morning, I'm gonna post a Instagram reel later this week with a kind of a day in the life in New York City and opening up the stock exchange or whatever I'm gonna post there. But I
Yeah.
stopped quickly to actually take a little video with the bull, the charging bull.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so the only time that you can actually get there when there's nobody there is bright and early in the morning. Other than that, you will never get a picture with the bull.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it's kind of like the Las Vegas sign here.
Yeah.
It's right off. It's like right near Mandalay Bay, and it's crazy. You go, any time of day, and there's just a line. So it's kind of the same thing. You have to really go probably early in the morning to get a picture without having to wait in an extensive line. It's pretty nutty. With all of that said, though, as far as New York goes, you said you used to live there. Do you? I mean, how does it feel being back? Do you miss living there at all? Is it good to be back there? You like spending time there?
Dude, I mean, I'm just gonna be real. No one, and I hate to say this for everybody out there, but like no one does it like a New Yorker, man. New York
That's what
just
they
has
say.
it's got an energy, it's got a hustle. When I moved, so I grew up on the East Coast, and then when I graduated from college, I ended up moving to San Francisco, and I was in LA for a bit, and then I got promoted, and I moved back to the East Coast, and on the plane ride over to the East Coast, I'm sitting on the plane, and there's a guy next to me where we started chatting, and he asked me where I was moving, New York, the city, Manhattan. And he goes, "Let me tell you something, kid. I'll never forget this guy, Ryan." He goes, "Let me tell you something, kid. New York City has the power to break you down completely, but it will remake you over time. It will rebuild you over time." And I was like, a young kid. I was like, yeah, yeah, 22, 23 years old. And I'll tell you what, I was broken by New York. But I was also rebuilt by New York. And I think it's in that rebuilding phase you really fall in love with what New York City has to offer and what it gives you. I have never, ever touched down on a ground that had a hustle like New York. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you are. So when I land in New York, man, you know, I- you can't walk slow in New York. You're on the move. Your mind is
Yeah.
going. You're just, I don't know. You're in the hustle, the New York hustle.
That's one of the
So
things
I
that
miss
seems
that.
most interesting to me about it is the fact that you can walk a lot of places. A lot of people do, walk from point A to point B all the time, more so than driving.
Oh, for sure. If it's not walking, I mean, you're in the subway and then you pop out and you're gonna walk somewhere. But man, I miss the energy. That's what I miss of New York. I don't necessarily miss living there. I mean, I lived a beautiful life when I was there, and I was off of Wall Street. Um, Beautiful building, high rise, nice view, like the whole thing. Um, but New York also can, because it's just buildings at the end of the day, right? Like it's the gridiron, it's concrete buildings. Unless you're going to Central Park, you're not going to see much grass and any trees. So financial district is not next to Central Park, you know. Um, so I miss it. I just miss the buzz, you know. But what I think
Yeah.
when I land there and I'm, you know, visiting clients, or I'm there just for a quick visit because I'm on business or whatever it is, it's nice just to like kind of get my toes back in the buzz of the energy of New York, and then I'm out, you know. So that's what feels good. It's definitely when I run, I run down memory lane, you know, and so it was fun, man. It was fun, and now by tomorrow, you know, by the time everybody is watching this episode, I will be in Philadelphia. And I lived in Philly for a little bit. It's definitely not New York. Definitely not. I don't think like an amazing city for me at least. But not to hate too hard on Philly, but but I'll be there for a wedding, man, and then Greece. And actually, big news. I think I'm getting rerouted, and I'll be in LA.
Oh,
Come what next week on Wednesday, Thursday, and
okay.
then I'll be going to FinCon in Oregon. That's what I think the game plan
Oh.
is.
So are you going to do that before Greece then? Or are you going to
No,
Greece and
I'm
then
going to
coming on?
Greece. I'm getting some R and
Wow.
R, man. I'm getting some
Whew.
R&R, and then I'm coming back.
That's a lot of traveling, man. And
Yeah,
FinCon's, I think, in Portland this year, right? That's where it is?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That'll be fine. I'd love to go next year, man. I mean, you know, it's just too close to the baby stuff this year. I would love to do that next year. I'd love to get out to the Blossom events. They actually, I think, have their first event tonight. I think up in I think it's in Calgary or Montreal or
Calgary.
I don't know exact
Yeah,
Calgary. Yeah.
yeah.
So I saw on Instagram they have their first event tonight, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the Deep End is powered by Blossom, and yeah, definitely feeling some FOMO from that next year though. Blossom
I'm
next
man.
year,
I'm gonna
FinCon,
try to get there. By the way, I'm
yeah.
gonna
Oh,
try to get there
and
in October.
well, that's what you were talking about a few moments ago, right? In terms of coming back to New York, maybe in a few weeks. It'd be in
Yeah,
October.
I think I am gonna ultimately hit New York, Chicago, and L.A.
You're gonna
Fingers
do all of
crossed.
them.
Yeah,
Wow, man, big
man. If I'm
travel.
gonna come back, like I'm coming back. You know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
do the whole damn thing.
Well, it's only like a few more days. I think each event is within a few days of each other, right? Definitely the New York and
Yeah,
Chicago, and then LA's maybe a couple days after that. So
yeah. No, it's
I saw.
exciting. It's all exciting stuff, man. I think at the end of the day, like, you know, I went to a concert in Manhattan, and it was really cool. Um, Someone actually messaged me on Instagram, and he goes, "Man, I thought it was you at the concert. I didn't know for sure, but now I hate my social anxiety because I wish I said hello." So
Is this a subscriber?
yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
and I
awesome.
messaged him back. I was like, "Man, you like it would have been all my honor. Like you should have just
Yeah,
you come on. You know, I don't be shy. You know." But
maybe
that was
I
cool.
don't
That was touching.
I don't know if we've talked about this before, if I've asked you this, but has that happened to you in person where someone's come up to you and they said, "Oh, I watch your videos." Has that ever happened to you?
It has. It has a
Really?
couple
Okay.
times. Yeah. Um, and only in like select like situations, right? Like um, when I went back to teach at Rutgers, like I popped in, and there was a kid who was like, "Oh, yo, I see," and actually this is an even better one, man. I have a good friend who came up to me, and he goes, "Dude, um, my brother the other night started to talk to me about finance and investing. So we started chit chatting, and he told me he just started watching this YouTuber, and he showed me who it was. It was you. I was like, oh man, that's great.
That's super
So
cool, man.
that was funny. Yeah,
It's
it's
happened to
happened
me
to you as well.
once. It's happened to me just once. This was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, year and some change ago. I was at the gym one morning and I was settling into the incline hammer strength press. And someone comes up to me and he's like pointing at me. And I thought, oh, maybe he was. I've been on it for a few minutes, but I thought, oh, did I jack this guy's machine? Did I steal it from him? Or is he trying to work in with me? And so, either way, I take out my headphones and I'm just like, hey, just said hi and asked if I took if he was using this. and tried to apologize. He said, "No, are you do you make YouTube videos?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. You watch my stuff?" And he's like, "Dude, yeah, I watch your stuff all the time. Me and my girlfriend do, and and he started telling me about his portfolio. Yeah, I just started getting into SCHD. I've been buying it every week, and just kind of we had a nice little conversation about it. But it was the coolest thing, and I remember thinking like, dude, thank you so much for coming to say hi because that makes my day. This is the first time it's ever happened, but this is really cool. With that said, any of you guys watching, if you ever see us out in public, please come say hi and introduce yourselves. It's yeah, it'll make
It's
our day. I promise.
the honor really is all ours, right? Like
Hundred
there's
percent.
nothing more powerful than actually being able to meet the people who are out there, all of you watching, and it's I don't know, it's such a special feeling, man. To just I had even on Blossom, a single mother the other week message me, and she's like, I'm again like struggling, single mother, like just got started investing. What do you think about this and that and portfolio and first of all, single moms because my mom raised me, and I just know the troubles and trials and tribulations with that. Like I have a soft spot there, but like I was just wow, man. Like I'd love to meet everybody who watches, whether it's the deep end or my channel. I'm sure it's the same for you. It's like you want to meet everybody. It's
Mm.
such a I don't know. It's just powerful, man, to see like or to hear from people, and that's what makes all the difference. Even just one person in the comments saying like you changed my life. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. And we don't get the opportunity to meet those people in person that often, which is why the Blossom events are such a cool thing, or being able to do things in person like that is so powerful because I think it's easy to forget. I don't know if forget's the right word, but it's the best one I have right now. It's easy to forget that on the people commenting on your videos, or that the thumbs up on your videos, there's people on the other end, actual people. And yeah, like you said, I think it makes what we're doing, uh how do I say this, it makes us really want to do better when we reconnect that and remember that there's actually a person on the other side of what we're doing. And it just makes it mean so much more, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it's easy to lose sight of that when you have your head buried in the screen all the time. So you need to get out and see the world and actually be with people. I think it's a good perspective refresher.
100%, man. I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's like we are doing this every day, and we know that there's people on the other end clicking the thumbs up or commenting or whatever. But it's totally different when we're actually able to interact
Yeah.
and learn about who's out there. Like my favorite thing is receiving a message, an email, um, whatever means of contact it is, to learn about who is out there and what they've learned, what they've experienced, what they have questions about, and it's like these interactions, man, make all the difference. So, and speaking of interactions, I think did you have someone that messaged you and you had a good question for the
Ye-
episode? You
Yeah, I've got a fantastic question. I think we can really sink our teeth into this one. Um, this one comes from Christian Brown, who's Christian asked some really good questions. He's always got some good ones for us. And so he asked, and it's kind of a three-parter. I figure we'll take this one by one by one. So he said, I was wondering if you could maybe make a video walking through your full process of choosing stocks, from how you first find them, like the products you use, what stock screeners, news, recommendations, etc. Like, how do you first find out about these companies, to then what do you look for when analyzing them? What sort of metrics are you looking at? How are you doing the valuations? Are you listening to the earnings calls? What are you doing in the research process? That's part two. And then finally, how do you take all that and decide when to actually buy and how much to buy? So a lot going on in that question. Like I said, I feel like it's a really good one. He's looking for like the all-encompassing process, but I figured let's take it from the top. Like, how do you find out about new stocks? Is there one particular way? Is there a favorite way that you have? How are you finding out about new companies or getting new ones on your radar? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like, I used to run this series on my channel, the stocks to buy now, and I've since actually I stopped doing that because I'm super into just masters at this point moving forward. But that every week was really uncovering new gems, perhaps to either add to a watch list or stocks to buy now, right? But so for me personally, like I'm prefacing with this because I have a small portfolio, six holdings now, and then two ETFs in there. So it's not like I'm looking for new stocks at this point every single day. But if I had to look for new stocks, that's how I'm going to approach this one. Or if I was making one of those videos again, stocks to buy now, what would I be doing? Often, I think, and it's said by a lot of investors, it's like, well, what do you currently use? Like, what products are in your sphere, like are in your everyday life, and start there. And I definitely agree with first investing into what you're already using because you are a good measurement of the success of that company. And I'll use like Apple for an example for me. Like I have the Apple phone, the Mac, I will never switch. And when the new phone comes out, I won't get the newest version. I'll get the, the one generation behind. But I will upgrade, right? And I think, even Apple aside, you can start to look in all aspects of your life. Like, who's your insurance provider? Oh, is it tied to United Health? So you just got to look around. And then not only that, as you're looking around, it's like, what products do you really love? And would you not give up for anything because you've built this tie, this affinity to that product, to that company, and you don't even, most of the time, we're not even aware of it. Like think about your deodorant. It's probably made by Procter and Gamble, but that deodorant that you're buying every single time, you're so loyal to that brand, you never deviate unless you have maybe you get a rash. It's like, oh, you change the right, but then you just got to look at your brands. Like, what are you doing every day? Are you stopping in at Starbucks every single day for a coffee because you love their coffee? It's like, then start there. And that's always just a simple approach, I think, to investing and building up a portfolio that you actually love and will generate interest in. Because you could go the other way, which is kind of like, I almost picture this more like the Warren Buffett way, which is how he used to just look at the newspaper and go down and just like find actual stock opportunities. You could do that, but I think that for the most part will take a lot of the fun out of investing for the vast majority of retail investors out there. And so, unless you're a professional, I wouldn't go with that approach. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all very well said. I totally agree with basically just starting with what you know. Um, I went through a period too where I kind of took that Warren Buffett approach and started with the A's and kind of made my way down. And yeah, you find some hidden gems doing that for sure, but you also find a lot of junk. But I guess you kind of have to sift through the haystack to find the needle. But I would say these days, like my, this might be kind of a weird thing to say, but my favorite way to find out about new companies is just organically, like just being out in the world and living and breathing. And one will randomly hit you like a ton of bricks. I actually, that's how I first found out that about Clear Secure was just
I
being
knew
out.
you were going
And
to say that, man. I knew you were
yeah,
going to
well,
say
it's a good example, like just being out and be like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Wonder if they're public or somehow making that connection that there's this company and they are public and not realizing it, and then connecting those dots. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Let me look into it, and then one thing leads to another. You do the research and end up liking it or not liking it, and decide to pull the trigger on it if you do. I think it's a really fun way to do it. And honestly, man, I would say that is one of the most fun things for me as an investor is finding these, I don't want to, I guess, hidden gems, but finding these companies that are not really thought about, that are kind of under the radar, kind of these sleeper compounding stocks that you wouldn't think of as being these like actually good investments, but they are. I think WD-40 is another one. Badger Meter. I don't even know how I found out about Badger Meter. Probably read something somewhere, and that was another one. Like, oh, I've never heard of this, but seems interesting. Seems like a really boring business. That's kind of exciting. Um, so, but with that said, like there are so many different ways to find stocks, starting with what you know, just kind of randomly stumbling upon an investment idea out in the wild. You can use stock screeners and stuff. I think Seeking Alpha's got a pretty good stock screener. Um, Truth be told, though, it's not really something that I do all that much. And I can't tell you why that is, because it does seem like kind of a more efficient way to do Warren Buffett start with the A's. It kind of can help you sift through some stuff. But I also think part of it too is I'm not always on the hunt for new companies. I think, and let me know what you think about this. You might feel the same way, especially with how your portfolio is structured. I think you get to a certain point where you feel pretty content with the makeup of your portfolio, and so you maybe don't feel as much of a pull to find your next thing, because things are pretty good right now. I'm not in a huge rush. I'll find one eventually, but it'll happen organically. Do you feel that way too, to where you go through periods where it's like, I'm just good with what I have?
Yeah, first of all, now more than ever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. I think there's like new investor syndrome, right? Where I think people get super excited as a new investor and they're like, I gotta catch them all. And I just gotta
Yeah,
catch them
sure.
all at the right time. And this is how I think so many investors end up with a portfolio of like 70, 80, 100 holdings because they're so excited, which is great. And it's like, you can't contain this buying energy, right? It's boom, 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 everything.
Yeah.
And that was I made that mistake. I feel like a lot of investors make that mistake, and I think if you are able to watch a podcast like this, jump in the deep end, and realize that that's not necessarily the best approach, you can avoid a lot of pains later on, aches and pains later on, as you got to maybe start trimming and reevaluating your strategy or your portfolio. So, that's a real, I think, new investor syndrome. That's a real thing. And where I'm at now, man, is I'm so satisfied with my portfolio. Less is more. You know, who I am as an investor, my approach to the market. So I don't even really go shopping that much, man. I keep my eyes on the companies that I own. And of course, I'll buy when they're down. And um, this is almost touching upon the next question I think that was mentioned here, but I buy when they're down and I buy when they're fair priced. And, if I'm in this thing, which I am for the long term, 10, 20, 15, I don't know why I just went back from 20 to 15, but whatever. Um, I will be buying, because I know I'm in this for the long term. And
Yeah.
so I try not to let price get me too much, like trying to time the price. If I know I have a
Hmm.
high quality company, which I do believe I have, and it's for 20 years, 30 years, well, chances are in that allotment of time, they're going to be going up in evaluation.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is actually something I just wrote about last week, and I think it was last week in a newsletter, and it was talking about exactly this. We get so, myself included, I'm absolutely guilty of this. And I also can't tell you how many conversations I've had with other investors who have fallen victim to this as well. We get so anchored to our cost basis. It's like one of the biggest psychological hurdles that we have to overcome. But as soon as you start a new position in a company, like I'll give you an example. For me, Snap On. Let's go with Snap On. I think I started the position in the low 200s. I think my average cost is, I don't know, maybe low to mid 200s. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but whatever it is, I'm immediately anchored to that price. That is my price of Snap On, and you know, I want to buy it there as often as I can. But the thing about these high quality companies, kind of like you were saying, is that over time they tend to get better, and because they get better, they tend to become more valuable. And so the share price goes up, and it gets farther and farther away from your cost basis. And once it does, even though like it's a better business then than when you first bought it, and it's still more expensive, and you still have that anchoring to the price that you originally paid, and it's such a difficult thing to overcome, and it can make it hard to know. It can make it hard to know like when to buy more, and that's honestly that's actually something I'm struggling with right now. So
It's funny you say that because it's something that it's one of those things where you do it, but you're not aware of it, that you're not aware that you're actually doing that. You're anchoring yourself to your initial buy-in. And yeah, man, definitely that happens. And then you wait, you end up timing the market because you're like, well, I bought it at 134, and will it ever go back down to that price?
yeah,
So I think that's something everybody should definitely think about and at least become aware of. And by the way, when you mentioned Snap-on, I wanted to mention this earlier, but I remember years back I was walking in Miami with a family friend, and he's a very well-to-do gentleman who is a mega investor in VCs and this and that. And anyways, we were walking in Miami near all the yachts, and I love, man, just looking at yachts and boats, like the water. It's all beautiful to me, and
there are
we
worse
were
sights you
admiring
could
these
take in.
yachts. Yeah. So, so he goes, the easiest way to obtain wealth is it's not going for all the shiny objects. It's actually going for the really boring objects that no one even wants to pick up. And he's like, the most money I've ever made were from investments that were underneath the hood of a car. And he was talking about this little rubber piece that connects to the engine. And you would never in a million, it's like a washer, right? Like just a little
Yeah,
rubber
yeah.
washer thing. You'd never think about it. You'd overlook it every time you pop the hood of the car open. Like you don't even know it exists. But
Yeah.
yet that guy invested in that company and made millions of dollars. And so he's like, everybody's, trying to get in Tesla. Screw Tesla. I invest in this little rubber thing. And I'm like, wow, like it's so true, man. We're all after the shiny objects, the shiny stocks. And it goes back to
Yeah.
me because we spoke about this a bit ago, but like Walmart sometimes trades like a tech stock, if you really think
Yeah.
about it, or like Costco. But who wants to invest in Walmart or Costco and call that sexy? Like no one, right? We're all looking for Tesla.
So so where does that come from? That's a fantastic point. Where does that come from though? Why why are people drawn to the quote unquote sexy businesses, these sleek, fast moving things? What is it about them that draws people in?
I think it's got to be FOMO. I feel like because everybody's investing in Tesla or everybody's investing in whatever it is that
But
no
to your
one wants
point,
to miss out on that
oh,
opportunity.
s- my bad. Sorry, man.
No,
Um,
no, I think no one just wants to miss out what everybody else is after. That they,
but to your
I
point though, like people they would rather say that they made, 100%, they doubled their money on Tesla than Walmart. But so like what is it about the different natures of those two, or I guess kind of the connotations of both of them? Walmart's looked at as this lame, boring business, or like Fastenal, or like Badger Meter once again, or like IDEX. I think it's
I love
IEX is the
IDEX.
ticker
Yeah,
symbol.
I could,
I just talked
yeah.
about it today. Why are those like looked down upon? Versus as opposed to the Nvidias or the Teslas or like the Rocket Labs. What is it about those others that make them more attractive?
Ego. I think it's ego. Like there's the fear of missing out of what everybody else is doing and how everybody else is making money. But that all boils down to ego, and I'll use this as the example. I'll pose this question to you. I feel like you'll also give me the answer though that's like the correct answer. So I don't know if it's even worth asking. But I was gonna ask you like, and I'll pose it to everybody. And, right, just take a moment before Ryan answers this and gets it right. Would you rather say that you've made millions of dollars working on Wall Street or at a hedge fund or as a doctor or as a lawyer or some like esteemed role? Or would you rather say that you've made millions of dollars working as a janitor? Either way, you're going to make $1 million. But which role do you want to say that you've made the million in? Probably the hedge fund, right? Or the lawyer or whatever it is. But what if the janitor made the same amount?
Yeah, it's the
No one
same
wants
thing.
to say the janitor.
No one. I bet if you asked 10 people, zero of them would say the janitor. And I think you're spot on, dude. I do think it's ego. And I'll paint a picture here. Let's say that, let's say that you're out at the bar, right, with your friends or whatever, and you go up and try to like spit game at some girl, and she asks you what you do, or you try to give off that you're this successful investor, wealthy investor. There's something in you that
This
wants
sounds like a
to.
reel, like an Instagram reel. Buys
you
one
will
share of his
feel
stock, he's a successful investor.
you will feel cooler telling her that you are buying all these hot, sexy stocks. Like that's cooler to you. You think that that's more impressive to her versus if you say, "Yeah,
Badger
I own
meter.
Fastenal, Badger meter. I invest in water meters, sewage. Yeah,
Yeah.
waste management. That's kind of my jam." It's not going to get the same response,
Yeah,
or at least you
she'd be
don't
like,
you don't think
"What?"
it will. Yeah, so we could be wrong, maybe we're wrong, but I do think that's where it comes from.
I just have this vision in my head, man. You're like, yeah, you know that water measurement, meter in the back of your house. It's my company, you know.
I think that maybe it says, and I guess this is true like across the board. Like I think that the stocks that you pick are a reflection of how you want people to think about you, or maybe how you think about yourself,
Oh, for
in a
sure,
sense.
man. Well, just think about like how even Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is huge, right? Everybody wants to make their money with Bitcoin. Again, it goes like I like the analogy, right? It's like you go to the bar and you're talking, trying to spit the game, and yeah, it's like oh, I made hundreds of thousands, of millions in Bitcoin, or poured it all into Nvidia and it blew up. But when you go over there and you're like trying to sell Badger meter on, like yeah, like it's just like, what are you talking about? Like you make that company up, like there's
Yeah.
no wow factor to it.
It's cooler, it's more exciting, it's sexier to be the person who won on a long shot bet versus the person who saw maybe lower but steadier returns across a long period of time.
Yeah.
There's something about catching that Hail Mary pass that's way cooler than going 10 yards at a time.
But here's the reality, man. It's what that he's a multi-millionaire that I was walking with in Miami. Like he cracked that code. Right? And he was just like, yeah, like you'd actually be an idiot to invest in a Tesla when you can find these, lame duck type of companies that are ridiculously profitable
Yeah.
and way less risky and way less volatile.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like you saying that. There's probably people listening, like who are not reacting well to that statement. Like you'd be an idiot to invest in a Tesla. There's probably some
And
people
I
who
don't
are
mean to
taking
pick on
offense to that.
Tesla. I want to
Oh
say
no,
that
I
'cause
know, I know, I
yeah,
know what you're trying
I
to
know
say
we're
though.
gonna get a
You're
bunch of
you're
comments
using
now.
Tesla. You're using Tesla as a proxy for all of these hot, hyped up stocks right now. You could
Yeah.
insert Palantir. You can insert Nvidia. You can insert Robinhood.
SoFi,
Not
all of them.
not to say that these are bad companies necessarily, but it's so much easier to say coulda, shoulda, woulda, and that these are good investments with hindsight. But I think it's also easy to forget about other how many other similar companies we're fighting for that chance to be the Tesla or the Palantir or the Nvidia. And the thing is, you don't hear about them. Okay, it's easy to forget about the it's easy to you can't stop hearing about the one big winner, but it's easy to forget about the 999 other losers that could have been just as likely to be the Palantir, the Tesla. There's a lot of, I don't want to call it luck, but yeah, I guess there it is luck. There is a lot of luck and randomness involved in all of this that we don't give enough credit to.
I also want to say that usually, when you have more of these hype, sexier stocks to invest into, there's usually more of an opportunity, a slimmer opportunity to make a greater ROI versus, again, playing that longer game with some of these more stable, reliable, appreciating opportunities. And so I also think that's a factor. It's like, oh, when we hear of the opportunity to make money fast, or at least faster, we're always going to try to go there. And
Yeah.
I think, again, it's like the Matrix, man. A lot of these successful individuals have cracked the code on like not needing to go with the masses, and they go on their own journey, and they come to find that it is those less shinier opportunities. It's the path that less people are willing to take, or desiring to take. I'm not even going to say willing,
Yeah.
because even we can use the gym, right? People will rather, instead of changing their entire lifestyle, they would rather get the temporary fix of doing like I hate this, like a 30-day juice cleanse. And I'm like, oh, you really think like the 30-day juice cleanse is going to change your life? Like, you need to change everything about your life in order to change your life. That's how you change
Hmm.
your life. Right? Your
Yeah.
juice cleanse is not going to get you there for the long
Yeah.
term.
It's all about what you can sustain over a long period of
Yeah.
time. Hmm.
And then therefore, if you compare that to stocks, right, you take your more volatile opportunities that everybody's trying to invest into, and because they're volatile, you're buying, you're selling, you're not sleeping well at night, you're emotional about it, but it's sexy. Like
Yeah.
you can at least say it. You can at least say that you invested. I won't use Tesla this time, in SoFi or Palantir,
Yeah.
AMD or any of these stocks that people are trying to make money with.
Yeah. And once again, it's not to say that they're bad, but there is a lot of hype and momentum driving them. Um, which also, I think you brought it up earlier, the FOMO component that definitely plays a big role in all of this too. And yeah, I do think there are a lot of instances where you need to be okay with taking that road less traveled, especially times right now. Like if, because there's, you know, every day someone's trying to shove one of those stocks down your throat. But it's hard to it's hard to want to get on board when they've already run up so much. But anyway, what I'm trying to get to is, yeah, I think that you have to be okay. And a big part of being an investor, especially when it comes to individual companies, a big part of being an investor is being okay, taking that road less traveled and going through what you talked about one time that was really powerful called that lonely chapter.
Oh yeah. Man, I try to, that lonely chapter factor, I try to incorporate in all aspects of my life.
Hmm.
Like, for me, and personally, I love it. I love finding myself in solitude. That's where I get my best thinking done. That's where I am like, wow, like in solitude is where a real man or a real woman is created, I think. And so if you're able to kind of quiet down all the noise, get away from the masses, and actually get down to business of asking yourself like what you're doing, why you're doing it. And if you're just investing in a company, like, I hate to, like, there's an ignorance there that if you're investing in a company just because that's one of the only companies because your five closest friends are only talking about Nvidia, then you got to be careful, because you're not, again, like, I always go back to, like, are you an investor? Because then what does an investor do? Just
Mm.
because you own a stock, it doesn't mean you're an investor. You just own a
Yeah.
stock. Like,
And
you
just
need to
be
change your life around it. Just because you write, I don't know, maybe, you write a couple sentences here and there. Are you a writer? No. A writer writes every day. A guitarist plays guitar every day. You know, they do the thing that so an investor is going to be interested in the market, watching stocks, learning about stocks, reading about stocks. Like their life is going to revolve around investing.
It's probably tough to it's probably tough too for some hearing that, um because the thing is, like, you can still make money on these things. You can still put money into a stock without thinking about it, and or not knowing a whole lot about it, and still make money, and come away from that thinking that you did something right or good. And I guess, yeah, like, you've made money, and that's great. But it's also important to separate outcome from process. You can have a bad investment process, which would just be buying something because someone else is doing it. You see something on Blossom or YouTube or whatever, and just buying it without even thinking about it because X, Y, and Z or all these other people are doing it. That could be a bad process that can still lead to a good outcome. And I think that teaches you a really, really bad lesson. And on the inverse of that too, like, you can have a really good process. You can do your due diligence, read through the financials, listen to the earnings calls, go through the 10Ks. You can study it as much as you want, and have a really, detailed checklist of the things you're looking for, and execute on that, and still have a bad outcome. You can still do all those things and cross all your T's and dot all of your I's and still lose money. And those are kind of the two sides to all of this that you need to reconcile. You can do the wrong things but still get a good outcome, and you can do the right things and still get a bad outcome. Um,
And one of those
so,
would make you an investor versus the other would just make you someone investing in stocks.
mm,
I think we need to be clear on that. Like, who are we? Like, what are we really doing? Because, it reminds me just of an old colleague of mine, and she would like pop into my office and be like, "What should I invest in?" And it's like she didn't know anything about half the companies or really any of these companies. Like, okay, bare bones, she knew like there was a Nvidia, makes chips, right? But like, if you really went deep on that, like, what are their financials? Why is it a good investment or a bad investment? She wouldn't be able to really
yeah.
tell you that. So I feel like a lot of people invest money into companies like that. And again, I go back to, well, just because in 2020 I picked up guitar and I learned to play a few songs, does that make me the next John Mayer and a guitarist? No. Like, I just know how to strum a few songs now.
You can
So
play
just because you
Wonderwall.
pick the stock, yeah, classic. um, just because you've picked a few stocks and over time they've done well, are you really an investor, or did you just happen to pick a couple stocks that did pretty well?
hmm Yeah, and you know what, man? Time reveals all. That's also like the that's also why time is such an important component in investing, and having a long time horizon is so important, so you can see how these decisions play out for better or for worse. And fortunately too, like, the longer your time horizon, the more forgiveness you can have, the more um, yeah, just the more forgiveness you can have, because you can course correct if your process is bad and you're consistently having bad outcomes. So,
I just had someone on Masters of the Market will drop this upcoming Monday, but he was like literally broke, as in like basically almost just homeless. Um, and he spoke about that exact point where he said it's like, just get started young and you'll just become a millionaire one day. Or if you're older and getting started, you're going to need to really throw a lot of money into the market. You need more capital to then become the millionaire. You will ultimately become a millionaire investing, but where are you in that timeline? And then invest accordingly. Man, we go back to this, or at least I do pretty often, but just knowing that I have reached like a coast fire, like I just those projections, man, they just helped me so much, man. I was in Manhattan. I did some shoe shopping. I bought new shoes for, like, I feel so stress free when it comes to a lot of this now, because I'm like, oh, I'm
Oh,
just
good.
gonna be a millionaire.
Dude,
Like it's
that's
awesome.
great. That's great. And I think that speaks to the whole point of all of this in the first place. It is to alleviate, that financial weight that's constantly sitting on all of our shoulders. I don't know about you. I don't know about all of you guys, but like, man, ever since I was, I remember even being a teenager and being afraid of like, man, what if I don't have enough money to live someday? Like, I remember being 13, 14, 15 and already kind of starting to stress about, gosh, I need to make enough money someday. That's always been one of my biggest fears is being financially insecure. And not for any good reason either. Like, we've my family's always had it's always been pretty comfortable. And so the fear was totally unfounded, but I don't know where it came from. But yeah, once you start investing and start making progress, I think I've described it this way before, but once you do, you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel start to get a bit brighter, and the more progress that you make in your portfolio, the more weight that gets lifted off of your shoulders. And yeah, you're in a point now where it's like, man, I don't feel this weight whatsoever. I'm good. I'm good. I've done all the heavy lifting, and now time, like the most important variable in all of this, I just have to let time go to work and do its thing.
What's the one comment that you would say that like just irks you the most when you hear people say it about investing? Or for me it's like, wow, like it's luck. Like, wow, or not even luck. It's like, yeah, I guess that's what it said. Like you were in a fortunate position. I hate that, man.
Yeah. Well, you're a young guy and you built up a pretty substantial sized position, like definitely above average for your age. And so I think it's easy to make assumptions. When can you stop that? My cat's freaking out.
Peanuts at it.
Knock it off. Come on. Just
He just
like 10
he
more
just
minutes.
wants in on the
Relax.
podcast, man.
Relax. So yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand why that irks you. I will say for me, I actually saw a whole post about this today on Blossom. I feel like I see stuff about this all the time. One of my biggest pet peeves, I'll say, is when I see posts that basically the gist of the post is saying that, how do I say it? Like basically making the assumption that dividend paying stocks will not grow. Like that dividend paying stocks are just dead or dying businesses. I feel like I see that all the time, and I'm just tired of it. It's like you can't. This applies to everything too. You can't just make blanket statements across an entire type of stock. Just like I
Sure.
can't go on and say all growth stocks are in a bubble and are going to burst and are unprofitable. Like I can't say that, and just like I can't say like all covered call ETFs are garbage, and the NAV erosion it'll go down. You just can't make these blanket statements. So yeah, that is definitely my biggest pet peeve, and I do think that one of the side quests in my portfolio is to try and just prove how incorrect that actually is.
Are you investing in income ETFs now then?
No, 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 no. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the dead and or dying
Ryan's
dividend
been
growth
creating
stocks.
separate portfolios to prove.
No, sir, that is not a side quest I will be embarking on anytime soon.
It's interesting, man. When I think the other just pet peeve of mine is like why certain investors feel the need to just hate. It's like, who cares? For me, if if people want to invest one way and they're winning, and by winning I mean they're just making more money than they put in, then what's it matter? So, I guess the question I want to throw out there is like, why do you think there's that people feel the need to have to chime in and say that their approach is the right approach, or you know,
Yeah,
yeah, the
I
best
mean,
approach, the right approach, like whatever it is.
everyone wants to be right. No, I mean it's just human nature. You'd rather be right than wrong, I think. Um, But the silly thing about it is it's not really a matter of right or wrong. Like Russ always says, like there's more than one way to get to financial heaven. Um, and so
Or
yeah,
like
to
my
your
man
point,
Rhino, he says, there's more than one way to
to
skin a
skin the
cat.
cat. Hear that, Peanut? You better behave, sir. Um, so, but yeah, it's totally true. And so I just think those conversations are pretty silly. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, I agree with you. If someone's making money doing whatever they're doing, like, good for you. That's great. I'm glad that you found a way that's worked for you. Even if they're not making money on it, like, hopefully they're they can readjust their process to get better outcomes. So I think that there's some value in that too, and I think everyone's on their own journey at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't particularly understand the all this bickering and bantering and yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it's only I don't ever see I don't ever see maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong on this, Ari, and also you guys in the comments. I don't ever see dividend investors throwing out the first punch in that
I don't really
conversation.
ever see dividend investors throwing any punches.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I think usually
maybe
it's like
maybe in,
growth
in
investors
defense,
like
but
this is the way, and then the dividend investors like, all right, like whatever.
yeah. I also think with all of that, like in throwing the first punch, there's also an assumption that like, which I guess I understand. Um, there's an assumption that people who buy dividend paying stocks, like they just care about the dividend. That's literally it. Nothing else matters. And I just think that's another incorrect part of that whole argument. You know?
Look, there's I for me at least, yeah, the dividend of course was a major attraction to dividend stocks, but it was also the comfortability of knowing that the companies that I'm investing into are not going to be as volatile. They're not just going to probably disappear in a week or two when the trend fades away. And so that gives me the reliability. As I've transformed or whatever you want to call it, evolved as an investor and changed in my goals and everything. Yeah, I have more volatile plays in there in my portfolio. But there was a point in time that I desperately needed to play my odds with higher yielding dividend stocks, the 3%ers, the 4%, because I had a major financial fear, like you did, of losing money. I didn't want to lose money. And how many times do you hear investors say, like, oh, threw my money into this because everybody was doing it, I lost my money. I never wanted to be in that camp. Warren Buffett, his rules of investing. Rule number one, don't lose money. And rule number two is follow rule number one. And don't lose money. It's fine if you're only up, a couple points on the scoreboard. The point is you're up a couple points. It's not good if you're not making money. So dividend investing for a long time. Someone just commented on one of my video. Maybe it was YouTube or it could have been Blossom. I don't recall. But it was last week, and I had posted something, and someone said, "Finally, Ari came around to investing in more growth-oriented stocks." And I was just like, man, it's not like I lost money on any of the dividend stocks. I wasn't ready yet to invest how I'm investing now, or there's no even ready point. It's just like I didn't see things a certain way, and that's also okay.
Yeah,
That
hundred
it was just
percent.
like a snobby comment.
Yeah, well, dude, I definitely sympathize with that. I got a lot of I told you so's when it came to selling Starbucks, and I knew I would. But it's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm glad you feel vindicated, but at the same time, I have to come to that. If you're right, I have to come to that same conclusion myself in my own time. Nothing you're going to say that's probably an exaggeration, but it's not likely that you're going to convince me of something through the comment section here. I think the story has to play out. both for the company and also for myself as an investor. I have to continue evolving and learning, and the commingling of those two things could lead to that conclusion, and did for me. But it's in your own time. It's on your own time.
Well, that's why every time I sit with people, whether it's, in regards to finance or even outside the scope of finance, I always ask, what are you really asking me? Are you asking what I would do, or are you asking me what I think you should do? Because
Oh
those are
yeah,
two very
that's
different questions,
another
frameworks of the
big
question.
another big pet peeve. Not to cut you off, I just needed to throw that in there. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's so key because again, it's like if you're asking me what I would do, I'm going to do something different than what you would do. But if you're coming to me and saying like, "Hey, I'm invested in this stock," what do if you were me, what would you do? That's an entirely different question than coming to me and saying like, what would you do, Ari? Because I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
going to look at that from how I'm investing in my experiences. So I also think that just goes to show you, like, you have to be careful who you're talking to and the delicacy that they put into the conversation. Because if
Hmm.
I went around, talking about my stocks and I wasn't kind of cemented where I am now and in my strategy. Well, yeah, I'd be really nervous. Like I'd be listening to everybody, but because I know myself and I never ask the questions like, what should I do? I'm asking the questions, how would you look at this in your position, right? To learn your perspective. It doesn't mean I'm going to change mine necessarily.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And we do get all the time, like we do get those comments all the time. And it is a fine line between someone asking what like we would do or what they should do. And oftentimes they're asking there's the words say one thing, but they really mean the other thing. Um and I feel like I've really been trying to tread more lightly when it comes to those specific questions, and I've kind of started defaulting to be honest, I don't know what you should do. I have no idea. I just don't know. And I don't want to be responsible for that decision too. Nor do I think I should. I think you're asking the wrong question, and not to be harsh, but I think if you're asking me that question, I appreciate you wanting my opinion. That's really cool to know that that's maybe worth something to you. But I do also think, like, on the other hand, if you're asking that question, you need to just stick to ETFs.
Oh, for sure. Keep it simple. I think also there's just a factor of like you want someone to co-sign your decisions, and that's a huge factor. Oh, if
Yeah.
if he said it's okay, then it's good, and it's like that doesn't mean anything. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything if someone says it's a good investment, whether it's your favorite YouTuber or some type of Jim Cramer of the finance world. Like it doesn't mean anything. Anything can happen at any time.
Or the masses either. Like, we've talked about this. I think we talked about it either last week or with Brandon a couple weeks ago. People are looking for that in the masses too. That's where the fear of missing out comes from. People are looking to see what other people are buying because and following that because it's safer to just be in the herd. If all these other people are doing, then it must be okay. If all these people are jumping off this bridge, then I don't know, seems fine to me.
Looks like a great bridge to jump off of.
Yeah, water looks nice and cushiony.
Until you realize it's shallow rock, man.
Yeah.
That's look. The most important thing I think is really experiencing your own journey, and it's okay to inquire, for more information, but you got to be aware of what really you're asking. You got to be aware of the
Hmm.
world even around you. I don't. Are people even aware anymore? Are we? I think we're losing touch with that. Just as
Yeah.
simple as again, like looking around your house and investing in the things that you're already buying. We're not even conscious of what we're buying anymore.
I think the right question to ask is not what should I do, or it's what would you do? when it comes to individual companies or any security, I think the right question to ask is, what do you think about XYZ? Just make it an open-ended thing, not a buy or sell, a yes or a no. What do you think about
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the other day when I had a question come in and someone said, here's what I just bought. What would you do? Would you buy that stock? And I was like, no, well, no, I'm not in your position. That's totally different. I'm not you. I don't have two kids. I don't have this. I don't have that timeline. My situation's so different. So what I always ask when someone messages me is, well, hold on. What's your investor profile? How old are you? Roughly how much income do you have coming in? You have debt. Like I go through the investor profile questions with someone just to even gauge like who they are and where they're at, because that's another aspect of when you're asking someone about their opinion, you need to give them the situation, because I
Mm.
wouldn't tell a near retiree to go all in on tech. That'd be crazy. So it's like you gotta give someone your situation. You like paint the picture.
Yeah, very true, man. I knew we'd be able to sink our teeth into that question or those multiple questions.
Here we are. It's been over an hour. It's how quickly it goes by.
Yeah. With that said, any last thoughts? Any famous last words before we close this thing up?
Leave some comments down there in the comment section for Ryan and I to chew on, to think about. I do want to say, feel free to message us. Actually, message
Mm.
us, not just comment below, but find us on Blossom and message us. If you want to have a real chat, even if it's about life itself or anything, because for me personally, again, it's like we just thriving on the connection that's created, knowing that you're actually in this thing with somebody and you're on the journey together. It's very, very powerful. So I just want to say, reach out. Reach out the more than the comment section. Reach out the more than just a tap on the thumbs up. Let us know you're out there, that you're real, that we've shaped your life in a way or changed your perspective, or even if we didn't do those things, but you just resonate with us, let us know. That's how I'll leave
Yeah.
it.
Awesome, man. Well, in the words of Charlie Munger, I have nothing to add. That was great. Really fun episode. And thank you all so much for listening. And we'll see you next week.